One Piece has changed a lot. Over the 25 years the show has been ongoing, there have been thousands of changes that have happened along the way, which is, well, it's to be expected. If there weren't any changes after 25 years, it would be a pretty bad story. Regardless, today we're going to look at some of the biggest differences between old One Piece and current One Piece, starting off at number 1, boobs. No, I'm joking. Anyways, speaking of changes, let's talk about how you could change your biggest problem. Boredom. By subscribing to this channel, you will be relieved of boredom and also get a new space where you can discuss Zoro's chest, so it's just a win-win. The most notable difference between old and current One Piece is the tone of the story. One Piece has gotten a lot darker following the time skip for a pretty good reason. As we headed into the new world, we constantly heard how it was a living hell and that it was infinitely harder than the Grand Line we had sailed previously. Ever since the first mention of the new world, it's clear that we were in for an extremely dark road filled with loss and heartache, and well, we got that. Post-time skip One Piece has been infinitely darker than pre-time skip One Piece. In fact, pre-time skip One Piece only started to truly get dark as we approached the new world. Most of the beginning arcs had a subtle darkness to them, but as the time went on, the level of darkness found in One Piece became extremely apparent. From arcs such as Wano, where slavery was directly addressed and we got to see some of the coolest moments in all of media take place, to arcs such as Punk Hazard, where even though there was a goofy clown as our antagonist, we still had the entire child experimentation thing happening. So, this was a bad goofy clown. The tone of One Piece has constantly been getting darker due to the nature of the Grand Line, which is one of the most notable changes between old and new One Piece. While yes, the crew still joke around and be dumbasses as usual, the experiences they have gone through have drastically changed their outlook on their adventure. At the end of the day, they lost. Twice. Call them Vegeta the way they keep losing. But for real, the crew's failures back to back have changed them. Their failures have caused them to become more and more serious as towards the end of the pre-time skip era, they realized how their actions have consequences. With the death of Ace, it became clear that they could no longer fuck around without finding out. They had finished the free trial period where mistakes could be made. Now they had to be serious in order to survive. The crew's behavior is a large part of what sets the tone of the show to be as dark as it is. Moving on though, another thing that has changed as the story progresses is the pacing, which thank God it did, holy shit. The change of pacing in the show is quite complicated, so to describe it, let me draw this out for you guys. So, this is what I like to call the pacing graph. Right here on the x-axis we can see the chapters of One Piece, and right here we can see random numbers. It's supposed to represent the pacing, but I'm stupid and I don't know how to quantify pacing with numbers, so we just have random numbers here. Yeah, it's literally just for decoration. Anyways, if One Piece started off like this, eventually we hit this random world between the time skip and Dressrosa, where the pacing was actually more similar to a normal anime than not. And then we hit Dressrosa and Wano, where the pacing was more similar to an Indian drama than not. And then randomly in the middle of Wano, we hit this thing, where the pacing is now like this. It's tall. Unlike me. What is this segment? What am I doing with my life? That was the most scuffed segment I've ever done in anything. Ever. That was horrible. I'm so sorry. The pacing of One Piece right now, however, is by far the greatest the show's pacing has been in my opinion. Everything is happening at once and Oda is finally using the slow build-up he has created for the past 25 years for a rapid and satisfying payout. Honestly, I think the pacing of One Piece has mostly been shit on because of the anime, which is understandable. But even the anime right now makes up for lackluster pacing with animation that makes you froth at the mouth. Throughout the manga, however, the pacing has been surprisingly decent. Obviously, we've had our slow patches, but otherwise, it was alright. The only real criticism I have of the pacing of One Piece, other than Long Ring Long Land, was the drastic change in pacing in the middle of Wano. I would have much rather Oda continue to slow pacing till the end of Wano and then switch it up after the arc had ended. Overall though, it's pretty clear that there's a stark difference between the pacing of the original arcs and the current arcs, which honestly I'm really glad there is, because One Piece right now is literally world changing every single week. Continuing on though, another thing that has changed with One Piece is the art. As the show progresses, Oda's art not only improves in general, but his art has actually taken up different style. When comparing the very first chapters with the most recent chapters, the difference in how Oda draws characters is very apparent. The first few chapters appear a lot more cartoony than the most recent chapters. Take the face of Shanks into consideration. In the first chapter, his face is round like a ball, and in the most recent chapters, his face appears more realistic. Also, he looks hotter in the more recent chapters, so honestly, thank you Oda for changing your style. But for real, Oda's art has changed tremendously throughout the years. Most of the change has been focused on the transition from a more cartoony approach to the story to a realistic art style, but the way Oda draws characters is also subtly genius as it reflects the tone of the story as a whole. In the first few arcs, the story was lighthearted, which was reflected through the characters' goofy faces and disproportionate bodies. After their time skip, the characters became a lot more grounded in realism to embody the change in the tone of the show in regards to the level of darkness present at all times in the new world. Moving on though, let's talk about what is one of the most controversial topics in One Piece. No, I'm not talking about Robin's skin color changing or even Zoro's chest not being the largest in the series, which by the way is a completely stupid part on Oda's move. What the frick just left my mouth. Which is, by the way, a completely stupid move on Oda's part. No.
Bombastic.
I'm talking about death. The concept of death in One Piece is as rare as a Naruto fan not mentioning Naruto whenever someone praises One Piece. So extremely rare. But Oda has constantly used the concept of a fake-out death throughout the series. Even in more recent arcs like Wano, he used it with Kinemon, so he's not really a big fan of killing his characters. So he may be asking, well, Laugh Tale's journey, why is this on the list then? This is on the list because of a keyword I like to call speculation. I know, I'm sorry. But for real, in recent chapters, Oda has not been as afraid of death as you may think. While the use of a fake-out death is still present, Oda has also been a lot less of afraid of killing characters now that we're in the endgame. Cobra, Big Mom, Kaido, hell, even probably Kid and his crew. Oda's been more comfortable ending their lives. As we wind down to the end of the show, a lot more characters are going to be killed as, well, you know, there's a lot of characters, and I genuinely think there's no conceivable way in which they'll all survive. A lot of major characters have massive death flags on them. For example, Shanks. What I'm trying to say is that as we wind down towards the end of the show, Oda's becoming more comfortable killing characters, which is both good and bad. It's good in that characters no longer never die, and it's bad in that, well, they die. A lot of characters we love will probably end up being kill murdered, but hey, at least people are dying, am I right? And the final thing we'll be talking about today is, that's right, you guessed it, mysteries. Mysteries are no longer being set up as often as they used to be. Slowly, and I mean very slowly, Oda's been peeling back the secrets that he has meticulously set up throughout the series. Especially in the most recent chapters, tons of mysteries regarding the Reverie, Imu, and even the Will of D are being brought into light, which is mind-blowing. The truth behind mysteries that were set up hundreds of chapters ago are finally being revealed, which is crazy to think about. For every One Piece fan, this is unbelievably exciting, so it begs the question of just how much longer do we have? How much higher can we get? Mysteries being revealed a lot means that One Piece is also inevitably coming to an end soon. Just like this video. Overall though, that's it for me. Thank you. Okay, I'm leaving this part in here because I want to rant. Dude, you know how long it took me to record this thing? It took me like an hour just because I cannot speak properly right now. I hate everything.